Hi, my name's Lucia Cardamone and I'm a sales director in Nutrimetics. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up on a dairy farm in Gippsland with my three brothers. My parents are immigrants that came to Australia. Dad came 1938, Mum 1949, and made a life for themselves on our farm in Gippsland. And I grew up there till I was 14. On my 15th birthday, I actually came to Melbourne to go to boarding school, and boy, what an eye-opener that was. I went from hearing cows mooing in the background to trams. I lived on Nicholson Street in the CBD, right? So I heard trams and ambulances, and life changed pretty much when I came to Melbourne. Did year 11 and failed year 11, repeated. I was very young at school. I started school on my fourth birthday in grade 1, and so very, very young all the way through. So repeating was not really off the radar. It was kind of expected that I would be repeating at some point. And then I did year 12, and I was the only girl in my whole year that failed year 12. And so I had been working Friday nights. When Friday night shopping started, I had got myself a job at Myers to keep myself at school, given that there was a drought or two at the time. And so I kept myself at boarding school. And at the time, I had been doing, like I said, Friday nights shopping, sales, and then Saturday morning I was working. And when I failed year 12, they actually asked me if I wanted to do a 2-year cadetship in retail, which I love, because I loved being in the city. I loved being in Melbourne, loved being around lots of people. And I absolutely loved my job at Myers. I loved the serving. I loved the structure. I loved the people, loved the fact that I was a junior buyer in the menswear section in the Burke Street store. The Lonsdale Street store hadn't even opened at that point. And I absolutely loved it. But there were some aspects about that job that as time went on, I couldn't believe it. Like the gossiping, like as Chris knows me really well, people start gossiping and I just tune out, right? So I'd go to one counter, those women would gossip about the people on the other counter, then I'd go there and they'd be gossiping about, so it used to absolutely do my head in. The other thing was I was 19 when I when I was there, and at this particular point, it was in my second year of that cadetship. So the first year was all pretty cool. The second year is when things, like I'd be going for a management position because I was a female back then. It was very much a boys' club. The other thing was that even though I was a hard worker, I'd get in really early, clean up my counter, get the counter all ready so that 9 o'clock, the department was ready for customers, whereas my colleagues, they would rustle in at about 1 minute to 9, and they were getting paid double what I was getting paid just because they were older. To me, it was so unfair that I wasn't getting paid what other people were getting paid, and the fact that I was doing this management job. Anyway, I was in that, second year, and living with my girlfriends. I had 4 girlfriends I went to boarding school with. The 5 of us shared a house in Brunswick. And one night this guy knocks on the door at our house, and he was selling saucepans, and we're all killing ourselves laughing. And he had, he knew that we weren't interested. And as he left, he said to all of us, hey, there's a girl that lives next door that sells cosmetics. Maybe you girls might be more interested in that. So I rang her, and she came and gave us a facial. And I'm looking at this girl, and she was a normal mum, a young mum, 2 little kids. She had a company car out the front. She was working her own out. And the more she kept telling me about what she was doing, the more I'm thinking, oh my God, like, what do I have to, and I actually ended up saying to her, what do I have to do what you're doing? She said, oh, you just buy this kit. And I'm thinking, that's it? Like, no set hour, So I just bought this kit. And little did I know that I ended up then working my own hours, taking my holidays when I wanted to, getting promotions when I deserved them. Got to travel overseas, had my own company car within 8 months, became a manager within 8 months. Look, honestly, it's been an incredible ride, the last, since 1975. So whenever you're watching this, it's 2020 right now. So whenever you're watching this, it's 45 years I've been with Nutrimetics, and honestly, with everything that's been happening the last 7 months, the future at Nutrimetics is absolutely incredible. In fact, we've got some very exciting news being shared with all of our consultants, right now around technology. And so grateful that the company has been at the head of technology. So, Chris, I know you've been, in our team for 28 years. Why don't you share your story with the gang?
Well, yeah, hi, my name's Mete. At the time I joined Nutrimetics, I was living in Berwick, and it was 1992. Now, at that time, the rates on our business overdraft was over 25%, I think, and our interest rate on our home loan was 18.5%. So you can imagine that was pretty tough. And there was a real recession. My husband is a tradesman, he's an electrician. I was home with my three boys. I've always done his bookwork. However, they had just got into a private school when this recession hit. And so we needed to really start looking at how I could help out with the family finances. However, my second son had been diagnosed with chronic fatigue, which meant that at any time of the day, I would get called from the school to come and pick him up, or some days he just couldn't go to school. So it made it really difficult to work a real job, as they say, especially in those days, because babysitting like we know it today was very different, very different. And my mum and dad lived in Bendigo, so they weren't around to help. So I went along I first of all did a different direct selling class on makeup, and I really loved that. It was all theory though, but when I actually did a makeup on a girlfriend, I came away feeling really happy about that. But there were some things about that direct selling company that didn't fit with me. And I begrudgingly went along to a Friday night party for my sister-in-law, who had her welcome party for Nutrimetics. And I was all of the classic things. I was late. I wasn't happy about being there because of my previous experience. And I sat down and just really enjoyed it. It was a group of girls, we were all having fun, and I found that I could actually use the skincare, because up until then I'd been using a retail skincare program that was too expensive for me to purchase. And because I've got sensitive skin, I was pretty doubtful that this Nutrimetics would suit. But there was a range there that I tried and I fell in love with it, I guess, right on the spot. I can be very spontaneous. It was on a special to join that day. So I did, thinking that the worst case scenario was I would save some money for myself. However, I sat there on that and thought about it for about a month. And the manager at the time rang me up and said, we need to get you going. And I said, look, I think I might upgrade to the real kit, which was $199 in those days. That's a lot of money, even today. And because I'd started to talk to my girlfriend about perhaps I could do this one night a week and a Saturday afternoon when my husband came home. And so very tentatively, because I'd never driven alone at night ever, went off to a first training and just loved it. I loved the environment. I had a hug from a complete stranger, and I grew up in a family where we didn't hug. So it was a bit, okay, but now I love hugging. And just loved that whole learning environment and feeling protected, I guess. And slowly but surely, I went to I didn't miss a training for many years. Gradually developed some self-confidence and started doing facials and some group makeups and that sort of thing. And I got heavily involved in wedding makeup because I loved that environment. I did that for a long time. And I loved being able to come home on a Saturday after doing a wedding with a pocket full of cash. And in those days it was all cash. And say to the boys, come on, we'll go off to McDonald's and to the movies. And I could afford to do that. Just loved it. Absolutely loved it. And from there, I gradually built my business, and I really decided to become a manager when the overseas trip was announced to go to Africa, which was on my bucket list. And at that time, my husband really wasn't interested in traveling. And I knew that the only way I was going to get to Africa was by somebody giving me a trip. And so I started really working the business, and I got my company car and my trip to Africa. And from there on, it's been a bit of a ride. I've nursed my dad through cancer, took him to every appointment possible, helped my son get better, obviously. 3 boys, life can be pretty crazy. My mum lived with me for 6 years before she passed. And so it's been the job that I could do really around my family and my friends, and I could still catch up for lunches or sneaky afternoon teas and that sort of thing on my way back into Berwick. So, or the way out, and we'd have a coffee before I was off to do some work. So it really has been a brilliant job for me. And now I guess my husband's partly retired, and because of COVID, so much more is online now. So it gives you more time to live the life you want to live. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's
Lovely.
my story.
Yeah. So Julie, what about your story? Because Chris, how long ago did you meet Julie?
I've never actually met Julie in person to person. Julie, I was doing a letterbox drop with my cousin Sonia many years ago. And before we got back to the car, Julie had rung Sonia and said she wanted some Nutrimetics. So we were very excited because we thought, this letterbox drop stuff works. And Julie's been a client of Sonia's for many years. And Julie just suddenly really decided to join our team in July this year.
Right. So Julie, you can pick up the story from there.
Yeah, I can. I will backtrack a little bit. So, when I was in Melbourne, I'll go back right to the start in a moment, but I just want to pick up on Chris's thread there. And it was 16 years ago, Chris, it was, that brochure was dropped in my mailbox, and I called Sonia, and she's been my consultant ever since. And I moved back to Echuca 13 years ago, and which is where I grew up, obviously. And I said, Sonia, what am I going to do? You've been my consultant for so long, and all of this. She said, no, it's okay. I'll send you a brochure in the mail, and it's all. And that's what we've done until this year. So I will take you back to where I come from. So a lot of my peeps know this story anyway. So similar to Lucia, I grew up on a dairy farm, 20 minutes drive out of Echuca, and good childhood. It was all I knew. As Lucia said, you're asked to do something. You're only asked once. You just did it. You were very hands-on. You learned to cook young. You learned to help and support the household and all of that sort of thing. So I then decided that I had a home ec teacher at school that I absolutely loved, and I went, this is actually what I want to do. I'm good with food. I want to bring it to the people. I just want to teach kids how to cook. So that's what I did. I had to go to Melbourne to do that. Hated it. I would ring up mum and say, I want to come home. I'll milk cows for the rest of my life. I hate this, right? So stuck it out. Loved it in the end, then lived overseas in London for about 18 months, came back home, sort of settled down, and that was in Melbourne. And now I'm back in Echuca after living quite a long time in Melbourne. And, last year, my son, my eldest son, became quite unwell, like really critically unwell with his mental health, and nearly broke me at school because I've been a school teacher for 25 years. And I said to my boss, I'm broken. I can't teach anymore. I said, I need a year off because there's just something telling me I just need some time off. So that's what I did. And she really didn't want to sort of let me go for the year. But I just sort of, and then COVID happened this year. I was doing some emergency teaching, and don't get me wrong, I really love classroom teaching, but schools are hard places to be now. And after doing it for so long, I was very tired, and on top of, my son becoming unwell and stuff, and I just needed some time out to just be. So emergency teaching, I was Weight Watchers coaching and doing live streamed events for Weight Watchers at that time during COVID. So a lot of things happened, and I thought, right, this is a good vibe. It's a good vibe, and some good things are happening out of this. And then it was just my year of yes. I just gave anything a go. And I said to my husband, I said, look, how about I've always loved Nutrimetics. It's always been a brand that we've had in our place. Like my grandma always had the full set of Nutrimetics on her dressing room table. And, that smell now still hits me in the face. It takes me back. So it's not a brand that I'm unfamiliar with. It's a brand I've always used and loved. And it's just a bit of a family institution. And I said to my husband, how about I just get some brochures and just do a brochure drop? And I'll see how I go. Who knows? It might be a thing. It might not be a thing. We'll see what happens. So I did that. Sonia got me all organised up here. And, and one thing happened after another. Chris just sort of said, oh, do you want to join my group? And do you want to join this little workshop, just introduction to Nutrimetics and stuff like that? And I've gone, why not? I'm not doing anything else. Couldn't even get a haircut back in hard COVID. Shut down. I thought I may as well just, do this and learn a bit more, and just sort of said yes to every little thing that came up. And then I was just sort of bored one night, and I'm poking around on Nutrispace. I've gone, there's a free website there. I'll get that organised. And I had the skills from being a Weight Watchers coach and having a Facebook group and Instagram through, we had a big one for food teachers, a big community there. And I thought, I'm just going to set up a Facebook group. I'll pop my website on there. I'll just invite everyone, all my friends. I thought, I feel a bit funny. I haven't seen Anne since uni days, but we're still in contact on social media, and people were joining. I've gone, this is crazy, and I sat there, as we all did in hard COVID in my tracksuit pants watching Netflix. And I said to my husband, my phone's flicking away, and I just sort of, I'd just do a quick little live of things that I liked. I didn't know if they were on special or not. I just told people about the things that I liked and I used, and some of them for quite a long time. So I'm sitting there, and the messages kept coming through on my phone. So I've said, I've just made like $80 sitting here on the couch. Like, I've done nothing to deserve this. I feel very, I feel like I shouldn't be saying yes, but the great thing is that I, for all those years where I've thought the wasted hours on social media gave me very good training for this. So I just, and people will hear me say it's the best not work I've ever done. It really, really is. So I think I took my first order on about the 16th of July, I believe. Chris, is that right? Yeah. Yep. So what are we now, November? So I became a manager in November. So to my people that are watching this, there's an old 80s song, and the future's so bright I've got to wear shades. So I love it. It's an oldie but a goodie, but I'm really here for the long haul, because honestly I've just found an easier way of being. My crew know that I might do 1 or 2 days teaching a week. I play tennis twice a week. I really am living my best life, and I think that sometimes the universe sends you some really big messages, and it's really quite harsh sometimes, so that you listen. And I really believe this is honestly the best thing I've ever done, and it's using a skill set I already have, and I just absolutely love it to bits. And Chris said, the company motto is women helping women, and I've never worked for a kinder, more supportive organisation or company. It really is wonderful. So even if you are thinking about taking it to that next level, honestly, everyone has the skills to do that. That's certainly in my crew. My jewels, you guys are the bomb.
They are.
Yeah, and I think that, essentially, I have brochure browsers, and I invite people. I don't have parties or workshops as such, but I just sort of, my whole motto as well is I just bring it to the people. I just tell people, and I offer them chances to become their own, set up their own account and things like that. And, through Chris's advice and kindness and suggestions, it's just it's just gone crazy. So I absolutely love it. I absolutely love what I do. And I can't see myself going back to full-time teaching now ever. Don't know about the car. We'll see what happens there. I might be buzzing around my little Nutrimetics car in Echuca, but you know, it's been wonderful. So thanks for the opportunity to talk to everybody about it.
Yeah, it's great. Great. We wish
Fantastic.
you all every success, Julie.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Very much so. Yeah. It really is living your best life now.
Oh,
yep, definitely.
Absolutely. And being able to, you know, on Friday morning, I was a bit tired from all my playing on my phone and all of my tips for the week. And I went, I don't want to work today. I'm just going to text the guy and say, you know, I don't want, you know, don't call me in today. I'm unavailable or whatever. And I've thought, wow, aren't I quite?
That's power.
It's power. Just call and win. And I've gone, oh, okay, no, I can only work Wednesday, Friday this week.
Good on you.
So my goal is to just do one day, you know, and I'm very lucky that I've got the flexibility in emergency teaching to do that. So yeah, it's been all kinds of wonderful. So that's my story, ladies.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
Great. That's great. Wish you every success.
Thank
Very
you.
best. Every success to you.
Thanks.
See you, Julie. See you, Chris.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Have fun, girls. Have fun.